Okay, today we've got a faulty cluster, which is this one here, that has been repaired. We've actually repaired it, okay, on the back, okay. But the information on the cluster, the eeprom, is corrupt because somebody tried to add a key and the battery went flat on the vehicle. The cluster went completely dead, and when it came back to life again, it wouldn't accept any keys. And the vehicle is a no crank, no start. Okay, so we're going to sort that out. But first of all, we're going to test the equipment on a known good cluster to make sure everything is working properly. So I'm just going to put that there for now. Right, so what we've got is an ECU. Okay, we've got a known good cluster. We've got our key reader, 2 program keys, and 1 key that isn't programmed. Okay, now these are off Ford Transits, makes no difference, they're ID63s. This lead is plugged into our IM508, okay, which we'll get to in a minute. Okay, but what we want to do first of all is we want to see what the known good cluster will show us with no key in the key reader. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're just going to turn the ignition on. Okay, and obviously, yeah, an engine malfunction will come up. Don't worry about the little flashing lights, that's just the camera. Okay, and what we're waiting for is the ECU, the instrument cluster, to tell us what it thinks is wrong. This is where things can go wrong just relying on this, but this is a known good cluster, and we should have 15, which is 1 and then a 5. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll wait for this. Hopefully you won't get too bored with this video, but this is a good way to learn. If you're programming clusters or programming keys on these Fords, you need to know the procedures for the PATs. Okay, so what we're going to do, pardon me, we're going to wait for this to stop flashing, and then it will give us a PATS code. Okay, so here we go. Right, 1, and then 1, 2, 3. So 3. Okay, well 3 on this one. Key in ignition is not a PATS key. Okay, so that's good. There's no key in the ignition. All right, so if there was a key in there and it didn't have a chip in it, the instrument cluster has guessed it correctly. Okay, so what we're going to do, switch the ignition off, and we are going to put in a key, this one, that is not programmed. Okay, so we're going to pop that in, stick that in there, let's put it in that way around. Okay, so the key that is not programmed, we're going to turn the ignition back on. Again, our flashing LED. This time we should get invalid key code. Okay, so it's seen a key, all right, and it says that's a key's in there, but it's not programmed. All right. So it takes a couple of minutes. Just be patient. Okay. And then finally, once we've done this, we're going to put a key in that we know is working, and it'll accept that key. All right. Okay. So any second now. Okay, so here we go. 1, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so 5 is 15 on this one, invalid key code, so that is correct. Okay, right, so the next one, we're going to turn the ignition off. I'm going to take this key back out, and we're going to pop in a programmed key. So there's our programmed key. Okay, like I say, these are ID63s from Ford Transit, makes no difference for us testing. All right, and then we're going to turn the ignition back on, and it should accept the key and then go out. Okay, so that's perfect. So we know that our bench testing equipment is working. Okay, so I'm going to turn the ignition off. I'm going to take out our programmed key. Right, and now I'm going to swap to the faulty cluster. Right, so what I'll do, if I just turn it over, press the little lever down, if I can do this with one hand, release it, just pop that over there like that. Get this one. I'm actually doing this outside at the back of the garage, but obviously I'm a mobile auto electrician, so I can do it anywhere. Right, so what I want to do now is if I just turn that around, plug my cluster in like so, so we've got a good clean connection. Okay, put that up against there like that. Right, now we are going to put a key in. So this is an unprogrammed key, okay, in here. All right, and I'm going to turn the ignition on. Okay, right, so what we should see is 15. Okay, so we'll see. So all our lights are lit up, everything is working as it should. All right, engine management light, everything is working. Okay, now this cluster was, like I said, the person who did it used 4scan, which is fair enough, 4scan works a treat, but they didn't use a battery maintenance system on, and the car battery went flat. Okay. So we're going to wait for this to finish flashing. Right. So any second now. So what we should see is 15, which is the key. Now watch. 1. 1. Do that again. 1. 1. Right. Now, so when we look at it now, I'll just move this. 1 1 is transponder in antenna ignition coil, no power. Well, it has got power because we've already tested it. Now you just imagine this code came up. You know, I mean, before this got to me, they'd had 3 of these coils. They've changed a starter motor, they've changed a battery and an alternator. They sent the cluster off to be repaired, and it's come back unrepaired, not repaired correctly. They've plugged it all back in, and it still comes back with 11. And then this is how I actually received it. One of our local locksmiths, an absolutely brilliant locksmith called Andy Bowley of Auto Locks in Gloucester, forwarded this one to me, saying that this just will not take a key. Okay, it's a no crank, no start, and you can't program any keys into it. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to try and program a key into this. All right, so I'm going to turn the ignition off, and I'm going to go to my Autel. You can use 4scan, but 4scan is just too slow. Okay, it's just far too slow. Okay, forward focus 2008. Okay, I'm going to click yes. All right, and we're going to go immobilize a status scan. So I'm going to turn the ignition on, and then I'm going to go immobilize a status scan. Right, and what it will do now is it will scan the ECU. So there's your cluster, there's your ECU. Now look at this. Number of programmed keys, 0. The specified minimum number of keys, 8. Okay, well it should say 2, and 8 is the maximum number of keys. So there's no way of programming a key into this. Now if we try, okay, we've got a key in there, and we're going to add a key. So add key, guided. Okay. And it'll go through all the procedures. Okay, so I'm going to go start. Okay, will not erase any keys. I'm going to click yes. Okay, insert the ignition key to be turned and turn the ignition on. Okay, with the ignition's on, so I'm going to go yes. Okay, accessing the data. On a 4 scan, this could take 7 to 10 minutes. This procedure would take 10 minutes. Would you like to continue? Yes. Okay, so go yes. Security access failed. Oh, that's not very good, is it? Fail. Okay, so we're going to try it one more time. Start. Won't erase any keys. Insert the key in the ignition. So what you're going to do, we're going to turn the ignition off. We're going to turn the ignition back on again. And then we're going to click on yes. Success, executing. 3 to 10 minutes. Yeah, would you like to proceed? Yes, we would. Access failed. And this is what it does all the time. Fail. Okay, so we're going to escape. And we come back to no keys programmed. Okay, no keys programmed, a minimum specified number of keys 8, which is wrong. Okay, now if I go actually into the report and I go down to instrument cluster, right, here we go, look, passive anti-theft system, transceiver fault, but there isn't a transceiver fault. Okay, and this is the other one. Can communication bus receive error? Forget the others because obviously the cluster's not plugged in. So that's the two that you would get if you plugged into it. Transceiver fault and bus fault, receive error. So you would think that it's that, but we know that it isn't. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to plug in Ford OBD and I'm going to read the data from this cluster and reprogram it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just turn the ignition off. Bear with me with this. So I'm just going to pop that down there, like that. I'm just going to unplug the alt out, plug in our Ford software, like so. Right, so I've just plugged in our Ford software. Right, now I'm going to turn the ignition back on. Okay, now we're going to go into our Ford OBD software. Okay, and the first thing we need to do is read. We're going to read the cluster. So we've got read, checking the CAN bus. Right. So straight away, no CAN traffic detected. So that is a bit of a giveaway. Possibly the wrong connection, continue anyway. Yes. Okay. So it will carry on reading because what it's doing now is using the CAN bus to read the EEPROM. Okay, because there's no key programmed into it, we will get that reading. The cluster itself has gone dead, and as you can see, just the one indicator is lit up. Sometimes they'll say diagnostic, but we're actually reading the EEPROM, so it'll go completely dead. It takes a little while. Okay, nearly there. So reading the EEPROM, and there we go. So all these are coming up okay, but look at this. Okay, no VIN number, no keys stored, no key IDs. Okay, so the dump data is this. So I'd say that is corrupt. So what we want to do now is I'm going to load a clean file. So if I go to, say, cluster data, so I'm going to load a clean file, 7. I think this is a 7. If I look on the back of this, no, it's a 4. Right. Okay, this is a 4MT. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to load a 4MT. Okay, and we're going to go open. Okay, so this is what we're going to put in. 4MT, VIN number, mileage, couple of keys, okay, and we're going to go right. We're going to write the whole EEPROM, click OK. Right, cluster. So again, no CAN traffic detected. Reading IDs, cluster is now gone out, indicators are flashing, and what it's doing now is writing the EEPROM, the whole lot, from a known good file, and on the back of the cluster it tells you whether it's a 4MT or a 7MT. Basically 4MT is petrol, 7MT is diesel, and we know it's petrol because the rev counter says 8. Okay, so I'm going to let this write. This will take a little while. Okay, just have to be a little bit patient with it. Talk amongst yourselves. As you can see, it's plugged in, it's communicating like that to the cluster. Nearly there. This Ford OBD, by the way, is available, well, it's not available in the UK. You can buy it via AliExpress, but it's well worth the money. If you're working on clusters, you have to have something like this. There's loads of things you can use, Xprog, CarProg. I find Ford OBD to be quite reliable, quite quick, and again, easy to use if you're mobile. Okay, so we're nearly there. And what should happen is it should appear in the top. So what we're going to do, we're going to let it finish writing, and then we are going to read it again, and that should give us our information. And then we are going to plug it back into the Autel and program a key. Okay, so that's what it was. The top one, 7MT, okay, 4 Ys for VIN. That's what we've just programmed in. Okay, now if I go read, I'm going to read it. There's no key programmed in at the moment, so you'll get no CAN traffic, which is fine. It's also not matched to the ECU, so the light goes out again. Okay, reading. So it's reading the data. And all this, we're doing all this in real time, so instead of fast forwarding it, hopefully it's not too boring, but in real time it's better. If you were using 4scan, for example, oh my god, you'd be waiting 10 minutes per key, and then 10 minutes to align it with the ECU. Okay, so we're reading the EEPROM. So what we want to see in the top section is the 4MT with all the details. Okay, so there we go, 4MT, the VIN number, the mileage, 3 keys are stored. Okay, the odometer reading, which we'll sort out another time, perhaps on another video. I've done it before on different videos. Okay, but that's that. Okay, so what we'll do now is we'll exit. Okay, we'll turn off the ignition. Right, now, with this key in here now, if we turn the ignition on, what we had before was 11, we want to see 15. Okay, so if I plug this in, so just switch the ignition on with the key that's unprogrammed. Okay, and we want to see, when this goes out, we want to see 15. Okay, first of all, it's given us distance to empty instead of an error on the fuel computer, which is a bit of a giveaway. Right, so I want to see 15 come up on here. If we get 15, then we know that we're on the right track, which is basically a key is in the system but not programmed. Pardon me. Here we go. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, that's a good start. So that means it's detected the key, and it says it's the wrong key in the ignition, basically, which is good. So we turn the ignition off. Now what I want to do is I want to escape. Okay. And now I'm going to go back into it. So I'm going to turn the ignition on. So the ignition's back on. Okay, I'm going to go immobilize the status scan. And this time we should see 3 keys. Ah, I haven't plugged it in, my mistake. So if I go escape, okay, I haven't plugged it in. I've still got the other one, so bear with me. I'm just going to pop you down there. Unplug this. Plug the Autel in. You can't do a video without making a mistake. Now we've got the Autel plugged in. Excellent. Right, so I'm going to turn the ignition off. Okay, turn the ignition back on. Now we're going to go immobilize the status scan. Okay, now it should communicate. So let's see. Right, so it's going to check the instrument cluster. So we've got 11 fault codes on one, 10 on the other. Number of keys programmed, look 3. The specified minimum number of keys is now 2 instead of 8. Right, so now we want to add a key. So I'm going to add that key. So if I now go add key, okay, and then press start, it will not erase any existing keys, which is good. So just click yes. Okay, turn the ignition on, which we have. Success. Accessing, success. Learned keys 3, okay. But when I press OK, learning failed. So I wonder why learning's failed. No. So we will do this again. So I'll turn the ignition off. Okay. Press start. We'll try it another way. This procedure will. Okay. Insert the key. Turn the ignition on. So the ignition is now on. Okay, we're going to press yes. Success. Waiting 3 to 10 minutes. Learn the keys 3 still. Okay. Learning failed. No. Right, so I'm going to go no. So I'm going to get out of this now. Escape. So for some reason, it is not accepting this key. So let's take another key. So we've still got number of keys 3. Let's delete the codes. Okay, so we're going to do quick erase, because quite often it won't program a key. Okay, so the ECM I'm not worried about. So if I go report, let's just see what it says. Bladed key, instrument cluster, invalid engine coolant temperature data. Right, well, we're not worried about that. So that's the only one. So let's go escape. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop that key back in, and we'll just try it, because we may have a bad key. Okay, so I want to go add key. Okay, and start. I go yes. Insert the key, turn the ignition on. Yes. Okay, see if it does it this time. 3 to 10 minutes. Learned keys 3. Learning key. The current number of keys is 3. Learning failed. So no. So for some reason, it does not like that key. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that key out. I'm going to put another one in. Okay, and I want to go start. It will not erase the key. Okay, ignition is on. Executing. Access. Learn keys 3 still. Okay. Learning key. Learning failed. Escape. Turn the ignition off. Turn the ignition back on. Okay, we'll try it again. Okay, so start. Procedure will not raise the keys. No. Insert the ignition. Turn the ignition on. Success. 3 to 10 minutes. Success. Learned keys still 3. There we go. Current number of keys is 4. Learning successful. Do you want to learn the next key? No. Success. It is such a fiddly process.